First, let's take a quick check at the headlines.
Donald Trump claims Iran wants Strait of Hormuz to remain open because it generates $500 million a day from oil shipments, adding that Iran is only calling for its closure to save face due to a U.S. blockade.
US President Donald Trump extends the US ceasefire with Iran indefinitely just hours before it was due to end, allowing more time for negotiations and for Iran to present a proposal while vowing to maintain a blockade of Tehran's ports.
White House says Vice President J.D. Vance will not travel to Pakistan for expected second round of peace talks. An official added in a statement that any updates on future in-person meetings will be announced later.
Iran's foreign minister says Tehran knows how to resist bullying, as Iran has yet to respond to an invite to talks with US in Islamabad, denounces US blockade of Iranian ports as an act of war and a violation of ceasefire.
According to new AP Norc poll, Trump's approval rating on economy falls sharply, dropping to 30% as Iran conflict drives prices higher. Support for his handling of Iran remains low at 32%, with even Republicans showing less faith in his leadership.
Ukraine repairs the damaged Truce pipeline that carries Russian oil to Europe and is ready to resume supplies, unblocking what Kiev hopes is last hurdle to securing tens of billions of euros in support from Brussels.
Global crude benchmark edged a touch lower to below $98.5 per barrel early on Wednesday after Trump extended the ceasefire with Iran. Lack of clarity on the peace talks drove Brent over 3% in the previous session to briefly above $100.
President Donald Trump has extended the U.S. ceasefire with Iran that was set to expire on Wednesday.
The fate of peace talks was hanging in the balance following Trump's announcement until a White House official confirmed that Vice President J.D. Vance would not travel to Pakistan as previously planned.
In a post on Truth social network, Trump credited a request from mediator Pakistan and stressed the need to give Iran's fractured leadership time to form a proposal. Well, the US president said he will extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or the other.
Iran made no immediate public comment in response to Trump's announcement. However, before it, as the original ceasefire deadline drew in, Iran preemptively threatened to attack its Gulf neighbors' oil production facilities if their territory was to attack it.
Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif thanked Trump for extending the ceasefire, while UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also welcomed it.
Now, Trump, however, has said that the blockade of ports on Iran's coast in the Strait of Hormuz will remain in place, while the US military will, in all other respects, remain ready and able.
On Tuesday, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in a post on X that the US blockade of Iranian ports is an act of war and thus a violation of the ceasefire, and attacking Iranian merchant ships and detaining their crew members were even more serious violations. Well, Araghchi said Iran knows how to neutralize restrictions, how to defend its interests, and how to resist bullying.
Mehdi Mohammadi, an advisor to Iran's parliament speaker Ghalibaf, also said the US blockade must be met with a military response, dismissing Trump's ceasefire extension announcement as meaningless. On another frontier of this war, the Israel-Lebanon border has erupted once again, with Hezbollah saying it attacked North Israel in response to Israeli truce violations.
Well, the attack comes just a day before Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors met in Washington for the next round of talks.
In a statement, the Iran-backed militant group said its fighters launched rockets and attacked drones at a site in northern Israel. Hezbollah claims the site was the source of artillery shelling towards a South Lebanon town. Since the beginning of the 10-day truce, sporadic violence has continued, with both sides alleging truce violations.
In response, the Israeli military said it struck a Hezbollah missile launcher used to attack Israeli soldiers in Lebanon. It also said a drone was intercepted before crossing into Israeli territory, leading to sirens at two northern Israeli communities.
Now, Lebanese media reported that Israeli artillery shelling in several locations in the country's south is existing. It also said the Israeli army was continuing to blow up homes and infrastructure in several villages near the border with Israel.
Since the beginning of the Israeli-US war on Iran, Israel has conducted massive strikes across Lebanon. Well, the IDF has also invaded southern Lebanon and vowed to station troops to secure northern Israeli communities.
Meanwhile, Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salam has said that his government was not seeking confrontation with Hezbollah, but it would not allow itself to be intimidated as it continues direct talks with Israel. Earlier, Hezbollah had urged the Lebanese government to cancel direct talks with Israel. The Lebanese Prime Minister also said that the country would need 500 million euros to tackle the current humanitarian crisis.
We're not seeking a confrontation with Hezbollah. On the contrary, I'd prefer to avoid a confrontation with Hezbollah, but believe me, we won't be intimidated. Not by Hezbollah, and certainly not by those who are blowing the hot and cold air of civil war.
Since the beginning of 10-day ceasefire, several residents have begun returning to southern Lebanon, but the scale of destruction and the intermittent truce violations have left many cautious and uneasy.
People came to check on their homes. Those who found their houses destroyed went back, while others covered the broken windows with plastic and stayed. Now, there are only 3 or 4 families left in the neighborhood.
Now, in a fresh escalation of tensions spilling beyond the battlefield, dozens of Israeli citizens were detained and questioned for several hours at Moscow's Domodedovo airport over the weekend.
Well, this incident has drawn diplomatic attention from both Moscow and Tel Aviv. According to Israel's foreign ministry, the group was held and later released after intervention from official channels, including the Israeli embassy in Moscow and Russia's foreign ministry. Well, the incident involved at least 40 Israelis and dual Russian-Israeli nationals who arrived from Tel Aviv and were held for around 5 hours on Saturday.
The episode comes at a delicate moment and just at a time when air travel between Israel and Russia resumed after weeks of disruption due to the West Asia war. Israel reopened its airspace after the ceasefire.
Well, the incident also unfolds against the backdrop of a sharp escalation in espionage-related claims between Israel and Iran. Few days ago, the Iranian state media reported the arrest of 4 individuals in Gilan province. They were allegedly linked to Israel's Mossad intelligence agency. The arrested individuals were accused of transmitting images and locations of sensitive military and security sites to Israeli handlers over the internet.
On the other end side of this espionage battle, Israeli security agencies have charged a woman from Israel's Nazareth with spying for Iran. Israel security agencies say they have arrested over 50 suspected Iranian operatives in around 40 publicly known cases, and this is over the past 2 years.
NATO warplanes were scrambled after Russian military aircraft were detected flying over the Baltic Sea, triggering a fresh aerial face-off above one of Europe's most sensitive regions.
Allied jets were reportedly launched to intercept and visually identify Russian aircraft approaching or moving through international airspace near member states bordering the Baltic. Such missions are common, but each encounter carries strategic weight as tensions remain high between Russia and the alliance.
The aircraft involved reportedly included long-range Russian bombers. Well, these bombers are heavy military aircraft designed to travel long distances and carry cruise missiles or conventional strike weapons.
The Russian mission included 2 supersonic Tu-22M3s as well as about 10 fighters, both Su-30s and Su-35s, that took turns escorting the larger strategic bombers. The Russian Defense Ministry said the flight took more than 4 hours. Moscow says these flights are lawful and conducted in international airspace, and Russian officials regularly describe them as scheduled training or patrol operations carried out under global aviation rules. They reject claims that the missions are provocative.
French Rafale fighters were deployed from a Lithuanian airbase where they are stationed as part of a decades-long NATO air policing effort. The fighters, armed with air-to-air missiles, joined jets from Sweden, Finland, Poland, Denmark and Romania. They all took to the skies to inspect and keep watch on the Russian flight.
There's a lot of traffic from the Russian, and there are plenty of times in which, on purpose or not, they are not really respecting the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization rules regarding flight plans and behavior. So obviously we are forced to take off and just make sure that they are who they say they are, and their intention is peaceful and just transitioning back to their home airfields.
While NATO says air policing missions are defensive and routine, fighter jets are placed on quick reaction alert across Europe and can be airborne within minutes when an identified military aircraft approach sensitive zones. The Baltic Sea has become a major pressure point since the Ukraine war, with NATO increasing patrols and Russia continuing long-range aviation missions.
Military analysts say these encounters are less about combat and more about signaling. While NATO demonstrates a readiness, Russia demonstrates reach, and the sky over the Baltic remains contested, crowded and closely watched.
A spate of deaths and disappearances have baffled America.
Well, top scientists working in different fields such as nuclear and UFO research have vanished or been found dead since 2022. Well, US President Donald Trump has vowed answers. Now, one more mysterious death has garnered attention, taking the number of missing or dead scientists to 11.
This case dates back to June 2011. Amy Eskridge, a scientist who founded the Institute for Exotic Science, was found dead with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. As per reports, she was investigating and attempting to develop anti-gravity technology Her death has come under scrutiny as she reportedly flagged escalating threats owing to her work in 2020.
Meanwhile, probe into this matter has intensified, with the main investigative committee in the U.S. House of Representatives stepping in. The U.S. House Oversight Committee has now sought information about those scientists who have gone missing over the last 3 years. The Department of Energy, Department of War, FBI and NASA have been asked to provide a briefing on this by April 27th.
Congressman James Comer, who heads this committee, told Fox News that so many scientists going missing or dying cannot be a coincidence. He said, and I quote him here, "The committee is making this one of our priorities now because we view this as a national security threat."
Well, in another development, the FBI said that it would lead an effort to hunt for any possible connections between the deaths and disappearances of scientists. It is working with Department of Energy, Department of War and local law enforcement agencies were to find such answers.
Similarly, NASA also released a statement saying that it was cooperating with relevant agencies regarding this matter. At the same time, it stressed that nothing indicates a national security threat as of now.
Now, who are these scientists whose death or disappearances have sparked speculation that they might have been targeted by America's enemies? Apart from Eskridge, the list includes NASA researchers Michael David Hicks, whose cause of death is still unknown. Come 2024, NASA scientist Frank Maywald died under mysterious circumstances. Well, this is not all. In 2025, former Los Alamos employee Anthony Chavez went missing after leaving home. This was followed by the disappearance of aerospace executive Monica Reza, who went on a hiking trip in California. Another Los Alamos employee, Melissa Caslas, also disappeared. Similarly, government contractor Steven Garcia stepped out carrying a handgun and was never seen again. In December 2025, Novartis researcher Jason Thomas disappeared, with his body found from a Massachusetts lake in March this year. In the same month, nuclear physicist Nuno Loureiro was shot dead at home. Well, additionally, astrophysicist Carl Grillmar, who collaborated with NASA, was also killed. The last case of disappearance dates back to February 27th, when retired Air Force General William McCaslin vanished from his home. Well, Canada is resetting its playbook on trade, on security and on its long-standing relationship with the United States.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced a broad-based 24-member advisory committee to steer Ottawa through what promises to be a tense phase in US-Canada trade negotiations.
Well, Carney is casting the net wide, bringing in voices across the political spectrum to ensure Canada enters these talks prepared, aligned and strategically sharp. The panel includes key figures like former Conservative leader Erin O'Toole, ex-Cabinet Minister Lisa Rett, former Premiers Jean Carcet and PJ Akiagok, alongside veteran diplomat Ralph Godley.
It is a show of unity at a time when economic friction with Washington is only intensifying under US President Donald Trump. But while trade talks loom, Canada is also making a statement far from the negotiating table in the frozen expanse of the Arctic.
In what has become the largest exercise of its kind since 2007, more than 1,300 Canadian troops have completed a 4,500-kilometer patrol across extreme northern terrain. From the Yukon-Alaska border to Churchill, Manitoba, soldiers face blizzards, whiteouts and temperatures plunging to minus 60 degrees. Well, they trained on skis, landed aircraft on frozen oceans and pushed artillery to record northern limits in Nunavut.
Carney has made a striking admission that Canada's close ties with the United States, once seen as its greatest strength, have now become a strategic weakness. A remark that reflects growing discomfort with Washington's posture from trade pressure to geopolitical assertiveness. Canada's Foreign Minister Anita Anand says the government is moving quickly to build full defense capacity in the Arctic, but offers no clear timeline.
Here's the current situation. The world, as I said earlier, is more dangerous and divided. The U.S. has fundamentally changed its approach to trade, raising its tariffs to levels last seen during the Great Depression. Many of our former strengths, based on our close ties to America, have become our weaknesses that we must correct. Workers in our industries most affected by U.S. tariffs.
Now, growing concern is taking shape across Europe. Alarms are being raised over the heavy reliance of its defense systems on American cloud technology and the potential risks that come with it.
A new analysis by the Future of Technology Institute has revealed that a vast majority of European Union countries depend on US-based cloud providers for their military and national defense operations. Well, this dependence exists either through direct contracts with American tech giants or indirectly through European companies that themselves use US cloud infrastructure.
Now, at the center of this concern is the idea of a kill switch. This refers to the possibility that Washington could at any moment force cloud providers to shut down services, restrict access, or hand over sensitive data. Such actions could be taken through legal or political means, including sanctions or data requests.
Well, one key legal tool is the Cloud Act that was passed during the presidency of Donald Trump. Well, this law allows US authorities to subpoena data stored by American companies, even if that data is hosted outside America. For European defense agencies using these services, well, this creates a serious vulnerability. Well, according to the study, 16 European countries are at particularly high risk of being affected by such a kill switch. Well, these include Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Hungary, Ireland, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, and the UK.
Now, Microsoft emerges as the dominant player among cloud providers. Its systems are used by defense agencies in 19 countries. Other major companies such as Google and Oracle have also secured defense contracts across the region.
Well, the risk is not just political, but it is also technical. Well, these cloud systems require regular updates, maintenance, and support from their US-based providers. If relations deteriorate or sanctions are imposed, these services could be interrupted, potentially compromising military operations.
As a result, European governments are increasingly trying and often struggling to reduce their dependence on US technology. There is a growing fear that the United States could one day leverage this digital dependency for strategic advantage. Countries like France, Germany, Finland, and the Netherlands are now actively reassessing their reliance on US tech giants. In France, authorities have already taken steps to restrict the use of American video tools such as Zoom and Microsoft Teams in government operations. All French ministries have been asked to develop a sovereignty plan by the fall. France has joined forces with Germany, Netherlands, and Italy to build digital commons.
Well, at the European level, the European Commission has taken a major step towards digital sovereignty. It has awarded $213 million cloud contract to 4 European providers. Well, this move is designed to boost local cloud capabilities and create large-scale demand for continental technology solutions.
Thank you for staying with us so far. We'll be right back after a short break. Stay tuned to WION World is One.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
5 states, 1 powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness. Five states, 1 powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION.
Thank you so much. You're watching WION World is One and this is World DNA with me, Adya Juneja and Kripa. Let's check the headlines first.
Iranian military threatens their forces would attack US and Israeli targets with full force if they attack Iran. Iranian state media reports quoting Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters spokesperson Zolfa Ghadi.
Iran's foreign minister says Iran knows how to resist bullying, as Iran has yet to respond to an invite to talks with US in Islamabad. Denounces US blockade of Iranian ports as an act of war and a violation of ceasefire.
Iranian military threatens their forces would attack US and Israeli targets with full force if they attack Iran. Iranian state media reports quoting Khatam al-Anbaniya Central Headquarters spokesperson Zolfagari.
The Lebanese Prime Minister says the country needs 500 million euros to deal with its humanitarian crisis amid fragile 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. Makes appeal during talks in Paris with the French president.
According to new AP North poll, Trump's approval rating on economy falls sharply, dropping to 30% as Iran conflict drives prices higher. Support for his handling of Iran remains low at 32%, with even Republicans showing less faith in his leadership.
Virginians voted to back a new electoral map that could hand Democrats 4 more seats in U.S. House of Representatives, turning Trump's redistricting push into a potential liability for Republicans in upcoming midterm elections.
Ukraine repairs the damaged Druzhba pipeline that carries Russian oil to Europe and is ready to resume supplies, unblocking what Kyiv hopes is last hurdle to securing tens of billions of euros in support from Brussels.
Wall Street stock futures rose in early trading on Wednesday, following Trump's ceasefire deadline extension after markets had already closed in the previous session, while investors had balked that peace talks have not yet been confirmed.
आतंकियों को और इस हमले की साजिश रचने वालों को उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिलेगी।
India today marks 1 year of the Pahalgam terror attack, which claimed 26 innocent lives.
Well, the gruesome attack took place in the picturesque Baisuran meadow, where Pakistan-backed terrorists targeted innocent tourists.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has put out a message on the occasion. In a post on X, the Prime Minister has said that the innocent lives lost in the gruesome terror attack will never be forgotten. Further, the Prime Minister added that India will never bow to any form of terror and the heinous designs of terrorists will never succeed.
Well, exactly a year ago, Pakistan-backed terrorists had burst out of the forest and attacked a group and a crowd of tourists with automatic weapons. Well, the terrorists signaled out tourists by religion, separated men from women and children and shot them at close range before fleeing into the dense jungle.
यहाँ पे उसने बोला कि शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी। नहीं आप टेंशन मत लो, अब बेटा आप यहाँ पे रहो, हम साथ में। मैडम ये जो वहीद साहब है प्रेसिडेंट, आप टेंशन मत लो, मेरे बेटे का बच्चा लो, हम बचा देगा, कोई बात नहीं। भैया तो करेंगे फोन दब से मन युवा डिजाइन किया है। ठीक है हम बचा देंगे ना, आप टेंशन मत लो, मैं आ रहा हूँ। मैं कहाँ पे आपका ये हस्बैंड?
In response, New Delhi first suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, expelled Pakistani diplomats and closed borders.
Indian security forces also launched Operation Sindoor, targeting terror infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, including deep strike hits on terror hubs in Murdike and Bawalpur.
Reminding the enemy of the costs of any misadventure along the border, the Indian Army has put out a stern message marking the Pahalgam terror attack anniversary. In a post on X, the Indian Army shared a post showcasing the map of India with the message, "Some boundaries should never be crossed." Another post put out by the Army says, and I quote it here, "For acts against India, the response is assured justice will be served, always."
Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te's Eswatini visit has been cancelled after 3 African countries withdrew permission for him to fly over their territories to get there.
Taiwan blamed the cancellation on intense Chinese pressure and economic coercion targeting the African nations.
This kind of situation is virtually unprecedented in the international community. Using coercive means to force a third country to change its sovereign decisions not only undermines aviation safety and violates relevant international norms and practices, it also constitutes a blatant interference in another country's internal affairs, disrupts the regional status quo, and harms the feelings of the people of Taiwan.
Well, according to Taiwan President's office, the Seychelles, Mauritius and Madagascar unilaterally revoked flight permits for the presidential aircraft without prior warning.
Lai was due to visit Eswatini from Wednesday for the 40th anniversary of King Mswati's third succession and his 58th birthday. Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, is the island's only remaining former diplomatic ally in the region.
But shortly after Lai's visit was announced, officials said a wave of Chinese cognitive warfare came into action. Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also confirmed that a coordinated disinformation campaign traced to pro-China media was deployed. However, in a show of support, over 40 African political figures from 11 countries publicly welcomed the visit, which now stands cancelled.
Meanwhile, Chinese President Xi Jinping says he is willing to work with African countries to address impact of West Asia war.
But for 8 decades, Japan kept its weapons to itself.
A nation that once waged war across Asia made a solemn promise to the world. That promise ended today. Japan has just opened the door to selling lethal weapons on the global market for the first time since the Second World War.
For decades, Japan built warships, missiles and advanced defense systems that almost no foreign buyer could touch. Its factories had the technology, its engineers had the skill, but its post-war rules kept the gate shut. That era is now ending. Japan has approved its biggest arms export rule change in generations, allowing defense companies to sell lethal military equipment abroad under expanded conditions. It marks a dramatic shift for a country whose modern identity was shaped by the horrors of war and a constitutional commitment to restraint. Now strategic realities are rewriting old boundaries. Rising tensions in the Indo-Pacific, North Korean missile tests, pressure around Taiwan, and China's growing military reach have pushed Japan to rethink security policy. Tokyo wants stronger deterrence, closer defense ties, and a more self-reliant industrial base.
At present, no country can protect itself on its own. In order to protect the country and the region, it is important to strengthen the deterrence and response capabilities of allies and like-minded countries by promoting the transfer of defense equipment and technology even more.
By opening foreign markets, Japan's defense giants can now chase contracts overseas, scale up production, and strengthen supply chains. Analysts say sectors such as naval systems, radar, missile defense, and aerospace could benefit first. China has already expressed concern, warning against moves that could destabilize regional security.
Japan's recent series of dangerous moves in the military and security fields have exposed its self-proclaimed status as a peaceful nation and a country adhering to policy of self-defense. Many experts and scholars are concerned that Japan is restarting its war machine and exporting war abroad.
Beijing has long watched Japan's military moves with suspicion, given the deep scars of wartime history. Inside Japan, the decision may also spark debate. Supporters say the world has changed and Japan must adapt. Critics warn the country risks drifting away from the pacifist principles that helped define the post-war order. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The Iran war is now spilling into global aviation, driving a sharp surge in jet fuel prices.
According to the European Federation for Transport and Environment, rising fuel costs are adding over $100 to long-distance ticket prices.
Well, jet fuel rates have jumped from around $90 per barrel to as high as $150 to $200 in recent weeks. With fuel making up nearly a quarter of airline operating costs, carriers are rapidly passing on the burden to passengers through higher fares and fees. While the European Union says there are no widespread cancellations yet, it warns that a prolonged Hormuz blockade could be catastrophic.
Without a return to permanent freedom of navigation, the consequences will be catastrophic, not only for Europe, but for the entire world.
Airlines across Europe, North America and Asia are already cutting capacity and adjusting schedules. WestJet, a major Canadian airline, plans to reduce capacity by up to 6% by June, while United Airlines has trimmed its schedule by 5% over the next 6 months. At the same time, the EU is preparing emergency guidelines and pushing for alternatives like sustainable aviation fuel and increased imports from the United States.
We are working on securing an alternative jet fuel supply for Europe, such as Type A jet fuel produced in the United States. And if real supply issues arise, our emergency stocks must be put to the best of use. Any national release of fuel must be done in full transparency to avoid market distortions.
The impact is global. US airlines like Delta and United have already warned of billion-dollar fuel bills. Meanwhile, in Africa, the crisis is even more severe. Nigeria has seen jet fuel prices surge 270% since February, pushing airlines to the brink.
Because of the challenges at the Strait of Hormuz, the products that normally pass through there are diesel and jet A1. That is the bulk of the product, what we call the middle distillates. the challenges with closing the straits or limiting the products passing through the straits, those straits of Hormuz, is that product, jet A1 and gas oil, are not available.
Globally, last-minute airfares have spiked as much as 74% on some routes, and cheaper flights are disappearing. Willie Walsh, the Director General of International Air Transport Association, had earlier warned of a looming crisis, even if supply normalizes.
And if it were to reopen and remain open, I think it will still take a period of months to get back to where supply needs to be, given the disruption to the refining capacity in the Middle East, which is a critical part of the global supply of refined product, and not just jet fuel, for other products as well. So it will probably take months.
For now, airlines are prioritizing profitable routes, cutting loss-making flights, and preparing for a turbulent and expensive summer travel season.
Well, breaking news coming in, viewers. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has said that peace without nuclear oversight is illusion, while welcoming the US announcement about a ceasefire extension.
But speaking to reporters, Grossi described the effort to end the war as a complex process and emphasized that it is important to allow all continuity for that process to play out.
The nuclear stance of Iran remains one of the contentious points of the ceasefire and the talks between Pakistan, the talks led by Pakistan between Iran and US. The earlier talks ended with no agreement as both sides failed to compromise. Key disagreements included Iran's uranium stockpile and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, this is the breaking news that we are getting in as of now. Well, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, said that peace without nuclear oversight is illusion. Well, Rafael Grossi has warned that peace without nuclear oversight would be quote-unquote illusion. Speaking to reporters, Grossi has welcomed the US announcement of the ceasefire extension with Iran, but has also stressed that any lasting peace deal must include the IAEA from the very start. He described the efforts to end the war as a complex process and has said that it is crucial to allow continuity for diplomacy to play out, with clear verification of Iran's nuclear activities to back up any agreement. Well, this is the breaking news that we are getting in as of now. Well, Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has said that peace without nuclear oversight is a quote-unquote illusion. Well, while speaking to reporters, Grossi welcomed the US announcement of a ceasefire extension with Iran, but has also stressed that any lasting peace deal must include the IAEA from the very start. He has described the effort to end the war as a very complex process and has also said that it is very crucial to allow continuity for diplomacy to play out within the war, with clear verification of Iran's nuclear activities to back up any agreement.
Onto the world of sports now. Struggling Chennai Super Kings have been dealt another blow.
Well, their top scorer this season, 18-year-old Ayush Matre, has been ruled out of the season with a hamstring injury.
India's under-19 world winning captain Matre sustained the injury during Chennai previous match against the Sunrisers Hyderabad on Saturday. Matre looked in solid touch during CSK's chase of 195. He raced to 30 off 12 balls before he clutched his left hamstring. He received some treatment on field and carried on for a bit, but the 18-year-old looked in visible discomfort and he fell in the very next ball. His 30 off 13 balls made him Chennai's highest run scorer so far, with 201 runs in 6 innings at a strike rate of 177.87. Now, he will require a rehabilitation period of 6 to 12 weeks.
Well, it's a massive blow for the 5-time winners who sit 8th on the table with 4 points from 6 games. MS Dhoni is yet to play a game this season due to a calf strain. Earlier, Nathan Ellis was ruled out of the entire season due to a hamstring injury. His replacement, Spencer Johnson, is still recovering from an injury and is yet to join the team. And last week, Khalil Ahmed was also ruled out due to a right quadrip injury.
We look into entertainment now. The world of fashion and films are coming together again for Devil Wears Prada. When the original film debuted in 2006, it achieved something rarely seen in mainstream cinema.
Well, it demanded respect for the fashion industry. Devil Wears Prada wasn't just a story about a demanding boss and a naive assistant. It was more. Well, it was a masterclass in the sheer economic power of fashion. Before 2006, fashion was frequently dismissed on screen as superficial vanity. But then came Miranda Presley's legendary Cruiselin sweater monologue. In less than 2 minutes, the film brilliantly dismantled the myth that fashion is just about looking pretty. It pulled back the curtain to reveal a multi-billion-dollar global industry.
An empire of textiles, designers, advertisers, and retailers that dictates global economies. That is what the message has been given by the film, a system that provides job opportunities even to those who consciously opt to stay away from the world of fashion. The movie taught a generation of viewers that the clothes they pull out of clearance bins are not random choices, but the trickle-down result of millions of dollars and countless jobs dictated by the very people running magazines like The Runway.
But in other words, fashion is not just the surface we see, it is an industrial titan. Now, 20 years later, the empire is striking back. The eagerly awaited sequel brings Andy, Emily, Nigel and Miranda back to the fashionable streets of New York City and the sleek, intimidating offices of Runway magazine.
To ensure lightning strikes twice, the studio brought back the original creative team, director David Frankel, screenwriter Lean Brosh McKenna, but the Runway universe is also expanding. The returning legends are joined by a powerhouse ensemble of new faces, including Kenneth Branagh, Justin Theroux, Lucy Liu, and Bridgerton star Simone Ashley, promising new rivalries and fresh dynamics in the cutthroat editorial world. For fans who have spent the last 20 years quoting the original film, the wait is said to be over next month.
The world of fashion has witnessed various cross-cultural moments, but the digital age has made one thing quite clear.
That is that buyers are paying close attention to original creations and many of them expect credit where it is due. Ralph Lauren is facing intense backlash online over a garment listed on its website as the print cotton wrap skirt. The skirt has its roots in bandhani, which is a centuries-old traditional Indian tie-dye craft. The brand's messaging does not give any credit to India, which has left consumers feeling that the culture behind the design is being erased. On the Ralph Lauren website, it is currently being priced for rupees 44,800. That is approximately $535.
The Ralph Lauren's original website boasts about the garment's beautiful drape and vibrant design. However, it is the lack of credit to India that has sparked public outrage. The craft found its origin in Gujarat and Rajasthan. Traditional bandhani requires artisans to hand-tie thousands of tiny knots before dyeing to create the signature dotted patterns. It's a painstaking job, and yet in India, the price of a bandhani skirt generally range from 350 rupees to 2,500 rupees. That is nearly $3 to $30.
The backlash against the fashion giant reflects a much larger shift. In 2026, the consumers are no longer passive buyers. They are invested in an attire's origin stories and cultural representation. Fashion has always evolved through the merging of different cultural influences. And the problem is not the act of taking inspiration, but rather the lack of credits.
A bandhani print comes with a lot of history, generational knowledge, and hard-earned identity. When global fashion houses draw from these ancient traditions to sell luxury items, the bare minimum expectation from today's audience is clear. Acknowledge the source, honor the heritage, and ensure the artisans who preserved the craft that are part of the equation.
So those were some of the top stories unfolding at this hour. This is World DNA. I'm Kripa with Adya. Thank you for staying with us. Stay tuned to WION World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
5 states, 1 powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Adya Janeja, and this is Speed News. Let's start with all the top stories making headlines today. India today marks 1 year of the horrific terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, which claimed 26 innocent lives. The attack took place in Baisaran, a picturesque meadow surrounded by dense pine forests. Pakistan-backed terrorists had singled out tourists by religion, separated men from women and children, and shot them at close range. India had responded with Operation Sindoor and targeted terror infrastructure across